cost. To study the cost dynamic, let us separate two different cases. In microeconomics, we compare two different dynamics, the short run and the long run. The short run in microeconomics is defined as the period of time where at least one factor of production is fixed. Unlike accounting, where it's a fixed number of days, it's 1 year, short versus long run, in economics that actually varies from industry to industry. If we look at the dynamic of the cost, the total cost consists in the short run of two important components. One is the fixed cost, which is represented by the green line on the graph, stays the same regardless of the level of output. The second component, variable cost, actually varies with the level of production. It starts at zero, where if there is no output produced, there are zero variable cost. The total cost actually combines the two, and its behavior depends on the behavior of both the fixed cost and the variable cost. To take it a step further, in addition to the total cost, we can look at the average cost. Average total cost is defined as the total cost divided by the number of units produced, and it could actually be separated again into two parts, average variable cost and average fixed cost. Average fixed cost is the fixed cost divided by the total number of units produced, and average variable cost is the variable cost divided by the number of units produced. The first component, average fixed cost, actually is the decreasing function of number of units produced, because you take the fixed number of cost and you spread them over a larger and larger amount of output. On the other hand, average variable cost has a U-shape. It is declining first up to a certain point, and then it starts going back up because of increases in the marginal cost. Overall, the average total cost is also U-shaped. It is the sum of average fixed cost and average variable cost. And as the number of units produced getting larger, average fixed cost is getting closer to zero, so it behaves almost like an average variable cost. On the other hand, on the lower end of the scale, majority of the average total cost comes from the average fixed cost, as there are not enough units to be spreading those fixed costs over. Marginal cost. As you remember, marginal cost is the incremental change in the cost that results in a very small change in the output. Marginal cost, that's represented by the orange line on this graph, is rising after a certain period, and it has this property that it will intersect average total cost and average variable cost at its minimum. Taking it a step further, in the long run dynamic, all the factors of production are variable. So there's not longer the fixed component. So the enterprise, a firm, can expand or actually scale back. In the long run, we just talk about the total cost, because fixed cost is zero and all the costs are variable. We can also calculate long run average cost by dividing long run total cost by the number of units produced. Studying those average total costs would allow us to see whether the industry is increasing average cost, decreasing or constant average cost industry. Finally, we can still calculate long-run marginal cost, which is the change in the total cost with respect to the small change in the number of units produced. Overall, the properties of marginal cost with respect to average cost stay the same, that the marginal cost will intersect the average cost at its minimum.